Hello everyone. Welcome to Chapters 5 of my book, A Practical Guide to Human Resources Management. Today we're going to talk about how to select a benefits program for your employees. And there's three things I want to talk about. The first is, how did we get to this point? We're all familiar with Obamacare. Not all of us are sure what it's going to mean in the future, but let's talk about how we got to the point we are today. Second, let's talk about ways that we can control our healthcare costs, because for most of us in business, that's a key component to success. And then last but not least, not everything we're going to talk about has to do with health insurance. So how did we get to this point? Well, let's look for a moment at medical inflation. Medical inflation over the last 5 years has averaged 9.7% per year. Well, obviously, that's nearly triple the regular inflation rate and is really not sustainable. There's actually 5 reasons for that, and I'm going to go through these individually with you. The first is high consumer utilization. The second is prevalence of preventative health conditions. The third is our aging population. Fourth is high-cost technology. And lastly, unnecessary care. So let's start with high consumer utilization. I put a chart up on the screen, and what this shows is, unlike what many people think, the real number one cause of higher costs in medical insurance is behavior. And by behavior, I'm obviously talking about things like smoking, drinking, obesity, etc. And I'll put up another slide here that shows you some of those kinds of things that we have to be concerned about. And obesity clearly leads the trend here. One more slide, and what this slide shows you is how obesity has changed over the last 20 years or so. If you look in 1991, you see that most of the United States was either white or blue, which indicated very few people were obese. By 1996, that was getting darker blue, and by 2004, you actually see some red, which is more than 25% of the state's population being obese. So clearly, obesity is a huge problem. The second issue is aging population. What this chart shows is that as you get older, no surprise, healthcare costs continue to go up. So the older the population gets, the bigger a concern this becomes. The next one is high-cost technology. We have more kinds of medicines today, particularly injectable kinds of drugs that are curing a number of different kinds of illnesses, but they're very, very expensive. And we also have better diagnostic equipment. MRIs used to be rare. Today you see an MRI in every hospital and in out clinics as well. Next, unnecessary care. While nobody knows for sure how much this costs, it's estimated by the General Accounting Office to be over $100 billion per year. Malpractice lawsuits also lead to more tests by doctors, therefore leading to higher costs. So what are some ways we can control our healthcare costs? Well, first, we can increase the employee contribution to the premium total, and I think this is what is occurring in a number of different companies. Second, we can raise deductibles. I remember a day when a $100 deductible was the norm. Today it's closer to $1,000, and in some cases $2,000 or $3,000. We could change the percentage of what the company covers. Used to be companies would cover 90%. Today it's more like 80%, and in some cases even 65%. We could change copays. Doctor visits used to be free. Now it's not uncommon to see a $30 or $35 copay. There is a possibility of tiering, what's called tiering of the drugs. So less expensive drugs cost less and more expensive drugs cost more. And we could move to what is known as the consumerism model, which means we give you, the consumer, more opportunities to make decisions about your health and get more involved in figuring out what's the best price for you. So if you consider the consumer-driven model, there's some things we need to keep in mind. First of all, leadership has to be engaged and has to be very visible in this process. There has to be commitment to education and change management. We're completely changing the way healthcare is delivered and how consumers are being involved in it. There also has to be a longer-term employment view. We have to consider that people will be with us longer, and we should be setting up health reimbursement accounts and things of that nature. And then also, what does our population, our company look like? The more literate they are, the more they're used to working with computers and doing things online, the more consumerism will work for you. But not everything is health insurance. So while clearly that represents the largest piece of our benefit cost, there are some other benefits you should consider for your employees, such as dental insurance, vision, life and accidental death, disability, which could be both short-term and long-term. Obviously, paid time off is important, as well as retirement benefits. We also should consider some things relative to work-life balance. For example, flex time. That's a very popular benefit with people. A compressed work week would be the same thing. We may have heard of the term 4-10s, where you work 10 hours a day for 4 days a week as opposed to 5 days a week and 8 hours a day. Job sharing is a possibility, where two people want to work part-time and share one full-time job. And of course, telecommuting is also very popular. So the question is there life after Obamacare? I have no idea. And if you want to buy my book, it's available on Amazon as well as Barnes & Noble. Again, it's a practical guide to human resources management.